How would you like to make this? Well, sit back and I will show you how. Okay, so you're probably wondering how I got the colors to come out looking as cool as they do. And essentially what it is I have 16 strands here to make up a pattern that should be 8 colors. And what I'm doing is I'm pairing these together in such a way that it still looks like yellow, right? But there are 2 shades of yellow here, and that's what makes the big difference. So in order to make this come out really nice, we need both sides to actually match up exactly. So rather than doing what I normally do, which would be just to go down the one side, I'm going to very carefully make sure that I have the colors exactly the same. Like just do one at a time on each of the 2 sides until the whole thing is done. So see, like in this case, there are 4 greens essentially, but 2 of these are much more closer to the blue. So we're going to go with this set of green here first. And since I just happen to have that handy, I'm going to go ahead and do this one as well. But now I have to be cautious and make sure that I mirror that over on this side. So let's see if we can find those. And one of the bonuses is that when Mandy made the little kumi for this, she kind of grouped the colors together exactly how I would be using it. Despite me I never even asked for that. It just happened to be that way. It happened to put all these colors sort of in the sequence that I would need it. So that's kind of cool. One of those fortunate things. And of course, if you're setting up your bracelet in some other fashion, you could still kind of group the colors next to each other to make your life easier. So okay, we've got yellow, we got green, we got the bluish green. Now it's time for the blue. Exciting, exciting. And this blue. Purple. Alright, now we're left with what? We have a few reds here. There's 4 of them, so let's see. These 2 and these 2. Again, just being real careful to make sure that they're both match up. Now, in putting this together, I got a little excited, and I've got this facing the wrong direction, essentially. But that's okay, because I have a fix for that too. So there we go. We have all the colors. I'm going to take this off, and sorry, we're flipping it around. So essentially I just turned it over, so that way we're going to create more of a teardrop start as opposed to the triangular one that I normally tend to lean towards. And so as you can see, we got the yellow here. We're just going to bring that all the way down to the middle. And I'm not using a pattern because this one really almost doesn't need one. It's something that you can just kind of eyeball it out. The yellow comes to the center and makes a little diamond, and everything else kind of has to zigzag around that. And that's all an Arrowhead bracelet is. It's really simple. once you kind of get the hang of the knots and get your consistencies and stuff down, this is a very easy bracelet that you can pretty much pull off. You can take your strings to the park or something. You don't need to have your phone or anything extra with you because it's really easy. Okay, you have the yellow all the way down, and per normal, I am going to go ahead and get a little bit done on one side, seeing as how I'm already here, and it'll make it a little bit easier when we join the two pieces. So not a whole lot of drama going on with that yellow, with the two colors merging together, but as you can see, the green does have a little bit more going on with it. It's a nice, fun, marbly sort of effect. And again, you can twist your strings a little bit if you're trying to kind of make sure that both colors are laying flat at the thing. So okay, we came all the way down. I want to show this real quick here, right? We came all the way down, and now we're going to have to go back because the yellow from the other side makes that diamond, right? So that's how we know that it has to zigzag. And then we know that we're not using these two strings. So when this next color comes down, it has to turn at this red instead. Okay, that red. So again, this is a really, really easy pattern. I would expect that you probably already made stuff like this in the past if you've been doing bracelets for any length of time. Just this mixing color thing is kind of fun. And it can only really be done if you're going to go ahead and double up your strings as I have, right? You don't get to have quite as much fun when you go with just the single strands. So now we're down to just a little angle here. Got the blues. And that'll come back over this purple. Now in order to make the diamond, these have to come back. There'll be three. Like if you count this as the top one, then it'll go to this. That'll be two. And then goes to this purple, and that is three. And then it comes back inwards again. So a right and a left there. Okay. This green goes to the right. And then to the left. Now, that's about as far as we want to go with this side. We basically do the same exact thing on this side. And again, we've lined up all the colors perfectly. So and seeing as how I'm starting at the very top here like I am, kind of snugging up how the strings were tugged together like they were, like how we set the colors in the sequence. I like to give it a little extra tug just to make sure that that part is really nice and tight, seeing as how that's really, really visible on the bracelet. So. Yeah. Oh, let's see. Second guessing my colors now. Oh, I don't like it. I think I got the reds backwards. Alright, hang on while I go fix it. Okay, so took a little work, undid some knots, got them in the right order. Basically, what I did wrong was the darker red should have been next to the purple and not next to the orange. So got those sorted around. Now, at this point, I can join this yellow to this side over here. And that's nothing wrong with that. However, I'll be tugging and pulling all of this, and there'll only be the one knot holding the two together. And that can actually cause things to kind of get a little messy. So what we're going to do is we're going to build up the other side the same, and that way there's just a little less action going on when we actually do the joining together. So the big reason we had to make sure that we had the colors in the right order is that we want this to almost be a fade of colors, right? So the darker red next to the purple makes a lot more sense than the darker red next to the orange. Blue being a cold color and red being a hot color. So the darker one kind of ends up being a little bit more of the cold on the spectrum. So also, we wanted to make sure that we got the strings right because of the way that they will come in and interact with each other as they join. So if I had, with the 4 different greens, if I had these kind of mixed up, it would look like a mistake. But because they're both made out of the same stuff, you'll be able to determine the group and see that as being the same. So that's sort of important, right? As you can see, I'm doing the same exact thing on this side as I did on the other. I took the green to the last one, which was the orange, and did a right left, and then now I go to this one, I do the same, the right left. Leaves me with the blue. And this is a relatively quick bracelet. You can kind of work on a whole area at a time. Segment knotting your way through this, as opposed to, you know, trying to do out one row or something and watch the pattern and, you know, try to create the same exact thing. It's just easier if you use the bracelet to show you when the zigzag happens, like this here, right? We know that it doesn't cross the blue. It's only going 3 down, so it goes to this. And then these 2 strings don't get used, so we go to the next one, and it comes down, and it ends on this last one. And a left and a right. Now comes the moment of joining them. So the 2 yellows start this off. The orange will be centered between this little diamond here of yellow. So the yellow kind of bounces back. That's how we're going to get that little diamond. This will go across to the left, a left knot, then a left right. Boom. Slipped out of my finger there. Alright, so a little yellow in the center. Or, excuse me, orange in the center. Yellow comes around it. have it. Now the green will come down and go all the way to the center, much like how we started with the yellow. The green now becomes the next color to be all the way to the middle. Then the teal comes down and turns at the yellow. So the yellow becomes the dot for the next one. So if you're confused as to whether or not you got it going right, it's always the dot from the previous one that's in the middle of these arrowheads. So when the teal comes up, it'll be the green, will be this, what's in the center of it. And see that turns back, and then those two strings get set aside, and then the blue comes down, and then the purple will be the little triangle like we have up here. It'll be the one that's on the edge. And this basically just repeats itself all the way through the whole bracelet. This is why I say this is such an easy pattern once you get the hang of it. There we go. Now this blue, or the purple, has a very light and very dark combination here. So the marbling effect should be absolutely awesome. Now the blue comes back. And the teal. And you can see I bounce this one back so then those two strings go out of the way. And then we do the teal. And now it's the green. Now the green will come all the way to the green itself when it crosses over, and then goes over the yellow, and then does the zigzag on the orange. One past the yellow. And then it comes back. Now the thing to make sure that you don't make a mistake on is that you're not going to go over this green, just like we didn't go over the green on this side. The colors in the teal are absolutely stunning. There we go. And now it's the blue. purple ends up being the same little triangle as it was on the other side. And that's about it, guys. I will be back to show you how this turns out. So I kind of wanted to go ahead and show you what it looks like as I'm actually making it. You can see I shifted it up a bit to get it better in the clip. But for the most part, I wanted to do this where you could actually see what I'm doing. Had I done my normal thing of actually keep shifting it upwards, you really wouldn't be able to see as much as what I actually recorded here. So you'll also see from this how I kind of always go to the same side and do, I do the left side, I bring the big piece down, I bring this down a little bit, fill in the rest of the right, and repeat. And by doing this, it's just a little bit easier because there's a little less that you actually have to think about. I think that's sort of important, just to keep things a little bit easier. Plus, there's something about the way that, like, I'm already kind of going to the right at that point right there where I finished off the teal, and then I might as well just continue going to the right and doing the other pieces. So overall, this was a pretty quick project. Obviously, this is all being shot in one day, and that's saying something because most of my projects tend to be really, really big. But I kind of wanted to show this. I had seen some comments over on Facebook asking about easy patterns that they could take and do where they wouldn't need to have a phone or to have a pattern and stuff. And to me, like, this is one of those basic kind of patterns. This is something that is relatively simple, but having enough of a challenge. The left right knots and the right left right and right left, yes. Kind of keep it interesting, and the changing the colors together like that, to me, really kind of gave this thing a little bit more candy for the eyes, if you will. I liked how, especially the reds, you'll see a little bit later on, how the reds really have this fiery kind of look to it. And it was important. I was really thankful to have gone back and put them in the right sequence, because I really think that would have really not have looked as good. As you can see, the dark red next to the purple and then the lighter red coming in. It was worth making the change. So what else would I do differently? Well, yeah, you don't have to necessarily do a rainbow with this. Any colors that you choose, as long as you pair them up well, I think would work. There's a lot of things that you can kind of play around with this style of mixing up the strings, and arrowheads, there's a lot you can kind of do with them as well, I think. I'm a big fan of doing fades, where you start off with a dark color, go to light, or vice versa. So yeah, this turned out pretty good. The ending to it, I filmed that in here too. It's a little ways away, but I essentially just brought the other colors down just to the center. There's no need to do anything kind of too weird with this, in my mind, because it's kind of fun. It's a fun overall build. So yeah, basically, I'm actually looking down at the actual bracelet, like, what else was there? Essentially, I just ran through all of the colors, so I really didn't need the strings to be, the cut to 1/3 length like I usually use. I could have actually used like a 1/4 length, I think. But that said, because it was longer, I was actually able to make kumi braids at the end. So I'm kind of glad that I went with the longer, just because I thought this would be a lot of fun. And this will be one of the bracelets I put over on my Patreon for somebody to win. Every month we have a giveaway, and I mail out a bracelet. So yeah, that's something, if you're interested in trying to support the channel, it's a great way. The money goes towards the string and the cameras and all this kind of stuff. Helps me to basically keep this show going. And yeah, you guys can then even give me input about other things that you want me to work on next. I listen to my Patreon people because they contribute to this whole thing, and even if it's as low of a donation as say like $5, it still means the world to me. It really does change how I look at making the videos, making the tutorials and stuff, is knowing that people really want to see this channel succeed. So I appreciate that. Okay, so coming in close to the yellow being done here, this is where you can kind of catch the ending of this. So once the yellow is done, I just brought the green to the center, and then go to the other side, bring the green to the center, and then the teal, and then the blue. I didn't necessarily need to do the blue, I just thought that it would really kind of cap out the colors well. So yeah, I was actually torn. I almost did the purple as well. So there you have it. Okay, so this is it. This is, you can really kind of see how those colors sort of blend, and yet they didn't really blend at all. They're so separate. The purple, I think, stands out the most. And like I was saying, I went and I did the kumi braids for the tassels. So I have a kumi loop and kumi tails. So this really turned out pretty nice. And honestly, it's not as difficult as you might think it is. If you're a beginner and you're starting off, maybe this isn't quite for you just yet. But as far as like something that you can actually kind of memorize how to do it and whatever, intermediate at least, this should be something that is relatively easy for you to make. I like how it turned out. I hope you guys did too, and hopefully you'll subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can see when the next time I put up a video. All right, and thanks again to my Patreon supporters for making this possible. And until next time, don't get your strings in a bunch.